He has been working with student support services for roughly the last 15 years, approximately, or 16 years. So he has been in this field for quite a while, and doing these workshops for quite a long time. So you are getting experience this morning. I believe this session will be one filled with information as well as interactive. Please ask your questions. Please interact, because this is your benefit. If there's something you need to know, something you don't understand, I encourage you to ask your questions, be interactive. It may benefit you as well as others in the room. So without taking any longer, I would like to hand you over to Mr. Morse to get started on his session. So Mr. Morse, over to you.
Thank you very much, Avalon, and good morning to everyone. It's so good to see so many of you all on this morning, and so many of you all would have registered to be a part of this series. So the genesis of this, I would say, went back close to what, like a month or two ago, because of the nature of the job that we do here at the University of Trinidad and Tobago in the student support department, in particular my function, we receive requests from companies on a weekly basis. Companies would reach out to us for resumes for UTT specific graduates for position within the organization. And we have been doing this for the last probably 10 to 15 years. And so therefore, we found it necessary, after going through a lot of these requests, to have some kind of platform or space where our students, our graduates as well, because they reach out for our graduates, and those who are transitioning into the world of work, our year 3 students who are going to graduate in November, to prepare them for this transition, because we have been from time to time been receiving these requests. And when we follow up, or when we look at the resumes, we go through the different stages, we are sometimes met with resumes that don't meet the standards that are required, right? And so therefore, the student support department made a decision to have a career fair that's going to take place on the 9th of July. And the purpose of this career fair is to basically to create a platform, to create an avenue where our students and our graduates would meet and interact with potential employers. It will also give the companies an opportunity to promote their career opportunities and internship programs and services with our students and our graduates. And it will give an opportunity for you as students and as graduates to identify potential employers, build meaningful rapport and networks with potential employees. It will also give the organizations an opportunity to basically present themselves to you as students and as graduates to see what options are available out there. So therefore, we found it necessary to have this job fair on the 9th of July. But before we did that, we wanted to have this series of workshops to prepare you, to prepare the participants, so that when you engage with these individuals on the 9th of July, you will be ready. And so the resume writing, which is the workshop you're attending to, is just one of 4 of the workshops that we have prepared for you guys. And I really hope that you take advantage of the information that we are sharing, because we are coming from a place of experience. We're coming from a place of concern, because we are concerned about our students and our graduates getting employment. We are concerned that our graduates reach their goals, their targets, their career objectives. So this is just one of the several initiatives that we are doing here at the University of Trinidad and Tobago. And I really hope that these presentations, you really grasp the information And I really hope that it rests on fertile soil and that you learn from it and that you really have the opportunity to benefit from the presenters over the next week. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go into the presentation. So just a few house rules. You're going to keep your mic muted. If it is you do have a question, you're familiar with Zoom, you do the raise hand emoji. I've Lonnie here with me. I also have Mr. Avinash Bisoon, who is also a colleague of mine. They will identify you, but I won't be able to see because I'll be sharing my screen and you'll be invited to ask a question. If it is you don't want to ask a question verbally, you have also the option to place a question in the chat. And Avalon or Avinash will assist in reading your questions and we'll take it from there. Feel free. You don't have to wait until the end of the presentation to ask a question. If you need clarification, feel free to interject and I will try my best to answer your question. Okay? So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go into the presentation. You're all hearing me and understanding me clearly, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Let me know when you're seeing the screen.
We're seeing
We're
it,
seeing
sir.
your screen.
Okay, good. Right, so as I've long well indicated, my name is Jesse Moss, and I have been here at the University of Trinidad and Tobago for the past probably 15, 16 years. And part of my remit as the head of the alumni office and the financial aid office is to basically, one, build that relationship and to maintain that relationship with our graduates between the university and the alumni. Part of my remit is also to assist with regards to financial advising and financial support for students in terms of providing bursaries and scholarships and student employment opportunities. Right, so I am very excited to spend the next hour and a half with you guys. And I really hope that whatever I share will cause some impact. So the resume writing workshop, just going to discuss briefly some of the expected learning outcomes. So I decided to break this workshop into 3 segments because I appreciate that we would have different types of individuals in this workshop. We would have students, persons who are students, current students at the university. You would have persons who are transitioning out, those who are year 3, probably recently got their exam results and are expected to graduate in November. So you are looking at your career path right now. You are studying what is your next step. Are you going to continue your studies? Are you going to go into an internship? Are you going to look for employment? Are you going to take a break? So we also have individuals who are graduates because the alumni is also part of this workshop. So persons who would have already experienced writing and creating a resume, persons who have already been interviewed, persons who have already have work experience. I might probably just want to shift or seek advancement in the workplace and would require to improve their resume. So I broke it out into three segments. Basic resume construction. So we're going to spend some time constructing a resume from scratch and identifying different elements of a resume and those elements, how we're going to sequence it in a particular format so that at the end of the session, you should be able to identify the different components of a resume. And this is basically for recent graduate, entry-level students, and even those who were already employed. We're also going to go into the do's and the don'ts so that you'll be able to, at the end of this session, be able to recognize and avoid mistakes that we all make when we are constructing our resume. I'm gonna say we all make, I've made the mistakes as well. All of us have shortcomings in terms of our career pathways. So we are learning as we go along. So we are going to understand and be able to identify common mistakes and how to navigate and correct them to improve your resumes. And then we're going to also focus on some advanced techniques for students or persons or individuals who already have a structured resume and we want to improve on that. And those are basically for persons who are already professionals, individuals who are probably in the world of work and want to seek career advancement into a higher role or function. So those are the 3 areas we're going to focus on, and I really hope that at the end of these 3 learning outcomes, these 3 presentations focus, you are going to be in a better position to have a polished resume that is ready to get you into that job or into that place that you are qualified to go. And when I say qualified, the resume is just a tool to open a door because you already qualify. The resume is that tool that is going to show how qualified you are. So, basic question, what is a resume? Standard question that most employees will ask. Some people ask, why would I need a resume? Why do companies or organizations require a resume? It is a basic standard tool that employers use to identify suitable candidates when they are going through a recruitment process. Right? It's a tool that is used to identify your skills, your experience, and as an opportunity for you as an individual to sell who you are, to sell your services, to sell your skills, to sell your product, right? It is a summary, a professional summary, right, of your qualifications, your work history, and the things that you would have achieved over a particular time period. And we will discuss later on what that particular time period will look like, because in some instances, some persons tend to put their whole life story in a resume. And so we'll cover that with some of the do's and the don'ts in a resume as we proceed. So it's a professional summary of who you are, a snapshot of your qualifications, and your work history and achievement. And so therefore, it's basically a passport. I like to say of it as a key to open a door to the interview, or to open a door to start the conversation as to who you are and why you are the best fit for a particular position in an organization. Now, some persons sometimes get mixed up with a resume and a CV. Now, just quickly, before I explain, anybody here know what is the difference between a resume and a CV? Could raise your hand quickly and could answer quickly. Anyone know what is the difference between a resume and a CV, a curriculum vitae? Avalon, you have to identify who is the hands to me, right? I think I'm
All
seeing
right, Akila Bruce. Go ahead, Akila.
In my understanding, a resume is a short version of the needed or required for the interview, while the CV is a list of all the things you have done throughout the years. So it's more long form content.
All right, thank you for that response. Akila, any more? No? Right, well, there are a lot of shy persons in this chat, in this presentation. That's okay. So Akila is somewhat correct. So a resume is a concise version or a summary of your professional skills and experiences, where a curriculum vitae will have to give a more in-depth analysis or in-depth version of who you are as a professional. A resume might more be targeted to a corporate environment, or a CV might be more targeted to our academic environments. For instance, if someone is applying to be a lecturer at the university, we'd more require that person to submit a CV, and that will outline the career in terms of the academic achievements. They'll have to identify how much peer reviews they did, the researches that they would have conducted, and papers they would have written, and different academic journals they would have completed as well. So a curriculum vitae is more on a career academic side, and it is more lengthy and in depth, while a CV is really a snapshot, and it should be at least 1 or 2 pages of your professional career on the corporate side, right? So now that we got that out of the way, I want to stress that the resume should always create a positive image, because in most instances, it is the first time an employer would be getting a snapshot of who you are, right? If I say the saying that you only have one chance to make a first impression, so your resume is that opportunity to make a first impression. And so therefore it's very important that that document, that 1 or 2 page document, leave an impact, a positive impact on the reader, right? It must be able to reflect who you are and your style of operation. It should reflect a version of you. And it should be clean, clear, and concise. Now, you have to understand that when an ad goes out, or a recruiter sends out an ad for a position, in most cases, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, you would receive, or an employer might receive, close to 200 to 300 resumes. So if I have to go through 300 resumes, most likely I am not going to flip through 2 to 3 pages on a resume. Most likely I'm just going to focus on the first page, because it's a lot of reading I have to do. So it's important that that impact, that impression, that reflection is captured on the first page of your resume. And we're going to try and go through how we're going to fix or adjust that as we go along. So your style could be different. It could be creative. It could be straight. It could be formal. It could be innovative. However that is, it should be captured on your resume. We have different types of formatting versions, but it must reflect who you are as an individual, right? It should be easy to read, easy to understand. I tell you, I have received and seen a lot of resumes from students, and they are incorrect spelling, grammatically incorrect. And the unfortunate thing is that the resume, the individual could very well be quite qualified for the position. They could very well be experienced, but the fact that you are indicating a grammar error, or not able to present yourself effectively through writing, it's a turnoff. And it's a turnoff because the recruiter only have literally 1 minute or less to go through your document. So yes, while your resume might be well done, might be well structured, you as an individual might be well qualified. Just one error on your resume could be the difference between you going into the interview or not. So then therefore it is very important that you scan through your resume, make sure it's grammatically correct. There are a lot of software available now that can identify spelling errors and punctuation and grammatical errors. Use it. It should be easy to read and easy to understand. The moment I have to try to question what you write or try to make assumption as to what you're trying to explain, your resume going to the next pile, moving on to the next resume, right? It's also important that you keep your resume free of inappropriate personal information, and we're going to go through that briefly further down in the presentation, right? So it should be easy to read, easy to understand. It should be grammatical, it should be correct, no errors, punctuation marks, spelling, and it should be free of inappropriate personal information. So let's start to construct the resume, right? Obviously, at the beginning of your resume should have your contact information. Bold, your contact information should be obviously your name, your address, your contact number, your email, and I tend to advise individuals now to also include your socials as well. If it is you have a LinkedIn account, you put the LinkedIn link on your resume so that persons could click and see your professional profile. As we on this point, I want to let you know that recruiters, when they're going through resumes and even before the interview stage, they scan who you are on social media as well. They do their research, and unfortunately, they make assumptions and assertions as to what you post on social media. So that's just a side tip as to what you expect when you send out a job application. Yes, sorry about that, guys. So your contact information, email address, contact information, updated contact number, and if it is your LinkedIn account and so on, you include the link there. You should have also your career objective, your educational background, awards, skills, honor, most importantly, work experience, if you do have, and your references, right? So we're going to go through each of these things quickly. So your contact information, as I indicated before, correct mailing address, professional email address. I want to stress on professional email address. I know some individuals have email addresses for different purposes. Some may have it for professional use, some may have it for personal use. I would advise that when you're sending out resumes, you create a professional email, right? Because I know sometimes persons have personal email addresses, and your personal email address can come across as somewhat, it could shoot in your foot. For instance, if it is if you have sexy Barbie or something, or something that's come across as inappropriate, it already gives the recruiter a perception of who you are. So we always advise that you create a professional email address and you include it on your resume. Your personal email address is for your personal use, right? If it's appropriate, then you could include it, right? So you include your name, block, bold, right? Your address, email, as indicated here, home number, and the mobile number. And I indicated before, I also advise that you include, once you're comfortable, any social media links, for instance, if you have a LinkedIn account. Yeah. Right, so core objective is the next element of your resume. And what the core objective does is basically gives the reader or the recruiter an idea of what your core goals are and what you intend to do once employed in the organization. how you can contribute to the company's overall objective and development, right? So therefore, your core objective should be clear, it should be concise, and it should be linked to the function or the role that you are applying for. What a lot of people do is they create a general career objective and they send out these resumes to different companies and organizations. If it is, for instance, in this instance, the example, you're a chemical engineering student, then obviously your career objective and your resume should reflect that. I don't expect to see a general career objective saying that you are administrative officer, or you want to be in civil engineering. If it is conflicting what you are in terms of what you're studying, then it gives the reader the perception that you're not quite clear or sure what your career path is. So for an entry-level student or entry-level engineering student, your career objective should read something like this. To obtain an entry-level position in chemical engineering where I can apply my academic knowledge, technical skills, and problem-solving abilities. Now, in this instance, the writer is indicating that, okay, I am a student, and therefore you can't expect me to have no big set of working experience. However, I can apply my academic knowledge and my technical skills that I would have developed during my period of studying at the university to assist in helping you solve your problem, to help you and to contribute to your organizational success, right? So therefore, I'm reading this and I could say, okay, this person is genuine or the right. Because in most instances, I won't expect a student who's now leaving university to have no big set of experience. If it is my core objective is saying to put my experience, to lend my experience to technical skills, then the writer know that you're bluffing already, right? Similar, if there's a way for you are leaving the university, or you probably have some level of work experience, then therefore you tweak your career objective to say that, right? And you can use whatever principles or techniques that you would have learned if it is that an internship, for example, in that career objective, right? So this example says to obtain a position as a chemical engineer. So it's saying what you intend to do or become a chemical engineer, where I can apply my engineering principles, process optimization techniques, and research-based solutions to address complex industrial challenges. So you're saying to the recruiter, what I would have learned here at the University of Trinidad and Tobago, I am able to apply these principles, these engineering techniques, these engineering principles to optimize techniques and the research that I would have done to create solution-based results to address whatever technical issue that you may be experiencing in your organization. And I would also want to contribute to your goals while I achieve my long-term professional goal. So the word long-term professional growth shows stability. It shows that you're not just looking for a job. It shows that you want to build your career within this organization while I increase or project my career pathway. In other words, I want to grow in your organization professionally. So I'm reading this with say, okay, this person not just passing through my organization. He wants to contribute to my organization while he focuses on growing himself as an individual. So it is very important that your career objective reflect what your goals are academically, what your goals are in terms of your career as well, and how your objective can assist in supporting the organization's goals and objectives, right? Please don't make general statements. Lean on your career part. If it is your fashion student, then I tend to expect to see fashion jargon. I expect to see a pathway into the fashion industry. If it is your agriculture student, then I expect to see that as well, right? The next step of your resume, after you identify your career pathway, your career objective, obviously is your education and what you would have achieved academically. Right, so this is standard information that you will have to provide, right? It should be up to date, all right? It should reflect your most recent education information as listed. What I've noticed a lot of persons do is that they don't put it in any particular order, and that could kind of be somewhat annoying because, as I indicated earlier, you only have literally 1 minute to impress the recruiter with a document that you would have created. So if it is that you did your certificate, you did a diploma, you did a degree, and you have the certificate on top, then you have the degree, then the diploma, it means that I might just think that you did the certificate only, because most likely I'm just going to focus on the top of the resume, right? If I have to go and look for information, you're giving me work, you're giving the recruiter work, and the least work you give the recruiter is better your chances of your resume being selected. So always keep the most recent educational information listed first. If it is a degree, diploma, certificate, in that order, right? Please include the institution, the degree that you did, and the GPA, especially if it is 3.1 above. And I'm saying that in context of my experience in terms of what recruiters usually ask. I can tell you of many instances. I'm not saying don't include if it's not 3.1 above, but I'm saying especially if it is. I can give an example. Particular company requested mechanical engineer resumes, and they requested GPAs of 3.1 above. I made the request, looked out, received close to about like 50 something resumes. However, 80% of the resumes I wasn't able to send for because they did not include a GPA on the resume. And that could be for various reasons. It could be that they just didn't see the need to include it, or they just don't want to include it. But in this instance, it wasn't even 3.1 above, they wanted 2.5 and above. So I'm going through these 50 resumes, and probably only like 10 or 15 of them actually included the GPA. Now, I am not going to go on to the students, the SIS system or on Canvas to look for anybody's GPA. Not my responsibility. So only those who included the GPA on their resume, once it is they reach the 2.5 and above, would have been forwarded to the organization for further screening. So I'm saying that in context, give as much information as necessary. The instant you start to leave out information, you start to leave room for persons to make inference and assumptions, right? And also include the graduation date or expected completion date. Mention academic honors, scholarships, and other distinctions, right? And this is just an example, a layout here, education, University of Trinidad and Tobago, right? Date, don't mind the gap, I just created a date, right? It doesn't mean that person studied since 2008. Bachelor of Science degree, right? The GPA, anticipated graduation date. So that is the format we usually advise students to put their education. The next aspect of your resume is a very important aspect for those who have work experience. right? I'm seeing someone with their hand raised.
Yes, good morning.
Yes,
So
I.
good. Based on the education that you just mentioned, right? So
Mhm.
say that we had a career change, right? Where you mentioned that the bachelor should be mentioned and then the diploma and certificate after, right? So you
Right.
have a diploma in a certain field and then you change and your bachelor is in a completely different field now. Should we still mention the diploma, knowing that the job has nothing to do with what the diploma you completed previously?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can give as much information as possible, but the order of it is for instance, if it is you did a degree, but the job that you're applying for, you did a diploma in it, right? You put the degree first still, right? And then the diploma after. You always put the order of precedence. In some instances, there are students who would have probably did a degree and then did a lower level diploma or a post or another undergraduate program. We always advise, if it is, for instance, you could tweak it. If it is, for instance, you did 2 degrees and you're applying for, let's just say, a mechanical engineering program, but you did 1 degree in electrical engineering and 1 in mechanical, you put the mechanical one on top first, and vice versa. Or you can group it. You could put the mechanical engineering degree in the mechanical engineering diploma, and then you could put the degree that is unrelated to the job. So, okay. Benton?
Yes. Just before this is to do with the education section, right? How you had so I did a degree and a diploma, and I'm currently doing a master's, right? Now, all of them are from UTT, right? So in that instance, how um how would you group that to make it like
So you did it in the same field, a certificate, master's, and a diploma, is it?
a master's diploma, master's degree diploma,
Or you did it backwards?
right? Well, well, that's the order that it would show up on the resume, right?
Because that's the order you did it. You did the master's
No,
first,
no,
then.
no. I did
No,
diploma.
no, Chelsea, he will have his most recent first.
Or his most recent first. All right.
Right, so
Okay.
masters will show up first.
That's what you're saying, right?
Yes,
Right. So your masters, you did the masters, a diploma, and a degree.
correct.
Right. So you should put the most recent first. If it is in the same area, you should put the most recent first. Right?
Right.
I hope that answers your question.
No, no. Well, they're all from UTT, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when presenting this on the resume, was like the best way to present it so that's not like cluttered together.
All right. All right. So if it is you did the masters, if it is you want first, I'm gonna go back. Yes. It's not moving. Right. So you put education, the University of Trinidad and Tobago, right? And you could group it if it is the same organization. Masters, the GPA, and the date. The degree, the GPA, and the date, the diploma, the degree, and the date. So you group it because it's the same organization. So you don't need to repeat the University of Trinidad and Tobago 3 times. I hope that answer your question.
Little bit.
A little bit too. So it's what it is still concerned about. I'm not clear.
Right. It's more
The
to
order of
do.
it.
No, it's more to do with the formatting in terms of making it readable.
Right, so the format is that you include the University of Trinidad and Tobago on top once, right? You include after the highest or the most, so be the highest or the most recent, right? I like to suggest the most recent, right? But it should be, the recent should be the highest, really and truly, right? So the masters, the name of the program, if you did the masters in process engineering, the GPA, then you put underneath that the degree in process engineering, the GPA, with the date, because you need to include the date to show the progression of the matriculation from diploma to master. So what it gives the reader is that you really are focused on improving yourself to matriculating from the diploma to masters in the same field, right? So you bunch it under one cluster under the University of Trinidad and Tobago. I think I see Nala Rambo and hands up.
Hi, good morning, sir. So, I'm a bit unclear about the career objective because I studied agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
So, based on my resume, I have a lot of work experience in, I would say, business and customer relations. But in terms like where I want to transition into gain a secure job in my field that I studied in agriculture, like how do I structure my experience in agriculture?
Right. So let's give you the same template. Right? So you are an agri-science student, but your experience is in customer relations. But you want to go take your career into the field of agriculture, right?
Yeah.
Right. So therefore, you're still now entering to that field.
Correct.
Good. So therefore, you need to focus the career objective on the skills that you would have learned within the agriculture program, and also include the experiences in terms of the field of customer service. Merge and marry that into your career objective, but you're not amplifying the customer service part. You're amplifying the agricultural part, because that is the direction that you want to go. You want to use the experience in terms of whatever skills that you have to create a pathway in agriculture over your professional growth and career advantage in the next 10 to 15 years. So what it is I would advise, guys, so if it is you're not clear or need additional support, on the 9th of July, we are also going to have what you call a resume writing clinic, where we are inviting you all to sit with us, and we are going to help you structure or correct your resume for you, right? So that's on the 9th of July, the same day of the career fair. You're going to be booking some of the computer labs, and we're going to have professionals sit with you and go through, so that any of your concerns that you all have just raised, we will sit with you and try and help you tweak it, okay? So I want to move on quickly because I'm a little behind time. Right, so work experience, I think, right. So you have to, I think we're on work experience now, right? We're moving on from education onto work experience. For those who have work experience, this is a very essential part of your resume. So this is what the employers really look for. Yes, they look at your academic qualifications, but academic qualifications is basically standard. I see the next hand up, Alicia.
I just was wondering if you could go back to the previous slide. I was trying to take a screenshot, sorry.
That's what this one, the education background.
Yes, thank you.
Sure, no problem. Right. So work experience is basically a snapshot of your experience in whatever field that you would have basically over the last 4 to 5 years, right? You should include the company name, job titles, duties performed in point form, right? I've seen a lot of resumes where they just include the company name and the job title and the date, but they exclude the job description or the duties that they would have performed, right? I'm going to go through it quickly, right? We advise that you use strong action verbs to highlight what you did, right? And follow through. So the point forms have to be a reflection or a snapshot of your capabilities, right? And so therefore, what you put in this section is very important and it must be accurate. And I'm using the word accurate because a lot of persons tend to put inaccurate information in this section. And we're going to discuss that later on when we discuss the do's and the don'ts and the advanced methods, right? This is honors and affiliations and awards. I'm seeing the next hand up, Ronaldo.
Hi, good day, everyone. My question was for the work experience. If your work experience doesn't pertain to anything that you study currently, should you still put the work experience? So
Is
say
it?
like if you're like say if you're working as like a clerk and you're studying chemical engineering, should you still
Mhm.
put the clerk
To
job
answer your
ex
question, yes, you can, but I'm going to give you some tips as to how to address it.
Okay,
Because
okay,
so there are some things being as a clerk, some skills or techniques that you would have learned that you can apply elsewhere. General techniques, right? Darren?
Yes. So regarding work experience as well, um, how would you put in like information regarding if you're trying to start your own small business on the side?
Right, so you're more on the entrepreneurship side. And as an entrepreneurship, right? So you're indicating to me in your work experience, you want to indicate your intention to start a business. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah. Well,
Okay.
I'm already in the process of like getting it together to run.
All right. Well, I won't put that there. I would probably put that in a separate section. Right? I will show you where you could include that. But the work experience, ideally want to show the recruiter your ability to contribute to our organizational objective, right? If it is you have your own business already and you in your own business, you have a particular position, then you can include that because that is experience. But you indicating that you intend to create a new business, that is something separate. Right, so Dana.
Hi, good morning. I would like, with regards to the work experience, if you did something like barbering, I would like you to also highlight the skill that would be useful for the work experience section. Thank you.
Yeah. So skills, so there's another section. We'll get there. I didn't include it in here, but there are other sections. There's another section that I include, and I could talk about my experience in my resume. I have another section that identifies skills and awards, right? Skills and academic involvement in terms of probably research that I would have done or probably some committees that I would have sat on and other skills that I would have done outside of my current career. So I would tend to try as much as possible to put in the education aspect your experience that could be linked to the job that you're applying for. And so I want to make a point here. So the resume your resume should be fluid. It should change, always change and adapt to the position that you're applying for. What a lot of persons do is that they keep the same resume template, the same information, and they send it out to different companies. And that shouldn't be the case. Your resume should be tweaked to align to the company's goal, the company's culture, the company's core values, the company's objectives. It requires that you you have to put in the work. It would require you tweaking your resume and send it out individually. What a lot of persons do, they fix the resume, one template, and they send it out to 15 different companies, and they expect at least one to reply. That's more like catfishing, but you really should tweak your resume to individual companies that you're applying for. Patrick Raymond, your hand still up, or that's...
Yeah, my hand's still up. Good day, everyone. Okay, so what I want to find out is all right, so if your workplace experience is vast, all right? You've been placed in different sections within that workplace for a number of years, right? Do you place all the sections that you have worked at, right, on your resume? Because it would take you for more than 4 years, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, so you're employing the same organization, but different
Same organization. However, you have worked over a period of time in different sections over a number of years, say 15 years, right? These sections would require you to gain different type of skills. You understand? And it would also require you to build. It would also require you to build yourself in these different sections. You understand? So do you put each section that you've worked with, along with the skills that you've acquired over the period of time that you've worked there, in your resume? Because that would take you for more than 4 years.
That would be overload, information overload. You would have to summarize it. So there are certain skills. What I would advise you to do is identify the skill or two that was unique to the position. For instance, if it is 5 different departments, I don't expect to put the 5 different job descriptions from each 5 different departments. What I would expect to see is the 1 or 2 different major skills that you would have learned from each of those departments. Right? So if it is, Lord, I'll just say, I want to use a general example. Let's just say you would have learned how to create a particular software in one department, but in another department, you learn data capture. Those are the main things that you want to identify. And the next department, you probably would have learned procurement management. At least 2 points of the major skill, because I'm sure there would have been duplication there will be duplication if it is listed out. And that will be taken up at least 1 or 2 of the page. And I mean, the information is useful, but you understand recruiter are not going to scan through or read through that entire document. They usually just focus on the first page of your resume. If it is that you pick the interest, like really, they might probably turn to the second page. Right? But really and truly, we try to advise that to keep all the important information on the first page of your resume. If it is that you have a lot of experience, then you have to summarize the major skills. And I'll just go through that quickly later on when we discuss advanced techniques, right? So honors and awards. Sorry, I'm supposed to get to miss this point. A lot of people tend to overlook the importance of this part of the resume. But really and truly, this is the opportunity where you get to show the employer of your, what I would call, the soft skills, your critical thinking skills, your ability to work in teams, your ability to work in groups, your ability to um to lend support to initiatives. So it's therefore important for you to really learn and understand the company's core values. For instance, one of the company's core values is civic engagement, community engagement. And you have on your resume, like for instance, you're a treasurer of a community group or NGO. Are you including that in your resume? You could always say, okay, well, this person's look like he could join one of our sporting clubs, so this person could probably assist in our outreach, community outreach. So they look for not only your career, the academic and career, but your ability to also lend or support their core values. And this is where the honors and the awards and the affiliations part will come in. Additional information, this is, even though it's at the end, this part is extremely important. And I'm saying that in the context, because of the use of technology and AI in terms of the recruitment process, right? And I'll explain that in terms of, when we discuss the advance. So any additional skill that you have, please include it. If it is in the skill of ICT, if it's skill of first aid, in the skill of mediation, excuse me, if you have even if it's a skill not necessarily too related to the field, include it as well. References a standard procedure, including your references. Some persons choose not to include it, but we always advise that you include it. Brendan, you have a question?
Yes. Okay, so I in the field of IT, right? And a lot of our skills may relate to certain programming languages, right?
Yeah.
Right. Um, and a programmer may know many languages, or even if you're doing cybersecurity, right? Would you now go and list the languages, or do you want the skills specific to the languages?
You have to include the left language, because if it is I'm in an ICT recruiter, then I want to know that who I'm recruiting understand the skills and the jargons and the tech and the verbiage of that industry. So you want to include that information in your resume, in your job description, in your additional skills, include those that information, because the person will say, okay, this person understand what this means, this person is experiencing this. Somebody like me, I will be like, I don't know what that is. But an ICT professional, if they're able to identify the language that you are speaking, that means they're on the same level and they understand who they are. They understand the person behind the resume.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, no, but in the certain programming languages that have specific skill sets that you may learn or acquire, right? Would you like now pair that up with the language?
Pair that up with the language.
Yeah, in that section.
Which section are you talking about?
The well, the section you just
Skills.
Yeah, the skills part.
Yes, yeah. That is where I will definitely, I will, because of the opportunity to show that you know the industry, you know the field. So yes, I will. Is this Jeannie?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I am.
Okay, lovely. I had a question about the achievement section because my current achievement section in my resume, I wasn't sure how many you should put because I have a few awards or like certificates and stuff like that. And every time I try to list them, I'm like, this is just too many. They're not gonna want to read all of that. Let me try to like keep it to like maybe 3, maybe 4, so that they know I'm a little bit more varied. I'm able to perform, but they're not overwhelmed. So how many would you say is a good amount? What would you say is more important than other things?
Yes, it's according to who you're applying to. So therefore it's necessary for you to understand the organization. So if it is some of the skills or techniques that you have, it could align with their core values and their objectives, then you include it. Right? If you think that it's not necessarily important, you could exclude it. However, formatting is another section that we probably, didn't have it for the presentation here today, but formatting is also a way for you to get as much information on your resume as possible within 1 or 2 pages. And there are different softwares that can assist you with that as well. The size of your font, the use of the space, the length of the page, paper on the screen. When I say paper, the page on the on Word. Some persons use different software as well to fix their resume. So there are different techniques that you can apply to get as much information on 2 pages as possible without making it cumbersome and making it clear and concise. The other thing is that you can do, you can group it. You can group your skills, right? In like, for instance, if it is you have different things in procurement, you could at least put 1 skill in procurement. Or if it is you have different skill, you're a footballer, you're a netballer, you can summarize that as a athlete or something like that. Summarize it as possible. Instead of listing all the different skills, you could cluster it or summarize it.
Quick
Right?
follow-up question. Do you know if they even look at it that hard? Do they tend to actually spend time caring about that section of the resume?
Yeah. So if I'll tell you, if it is that the organization is looking according to who they're looking for, right? If it is, for instance, if it is an entry-level position, most likely they won't. They will just look for your academic qualifications and that the first section. If it is they're looking for like an intermediate position or officer position, or as a position that require you to work in groups or in teams or to lend to the country or support a department, they might look for it. If it is that the culture of the organization requires that they look for someone who is outgoing. For instance, I'll give an example for student support, our department, student support services. We are student-oriented here at the university. This particular department in particular is student-oriented. So we will look for someone who have experience in dealing with problem, student girls, person who have experience working with NGOs, person who have experience with working with clubs, religious organizations, because that is the core or soft skills that we would want in our unit, because we are student oriented. We deal with personal issues. We deal with issues that require some level of sensitivity, some level of human touch. Right? We won't necessarily gravitate someone who is probably analytical, who would more focus on strategic outcomes, who more focus on data collection. That not necessarily would be our focus. So that's just an example. So it's according to the organization, it's according to the position that you're applying for, and it's also according to the objectives.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So as I said earlier, always tweak your resume to suit the position or to suit the organization that you are applying. So it will require you doing some level of investigation, some level of research. Right, Israel?
Hi, good day. So I would just like to ask, with regards to the skills area, if you served on a committee and you have no form of documentation that you served, say it's like IVCF or another student involved committee, would you still list it? Or could you just list the skill that
I
you
would
obtained
list
from?
it, and what I would do, I would put someone who's associated with that organization as a reference.
All right then. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. So we're moving on to reference. I think we're on reference, additional information on ROS. Reference, this is optional, but I always advise persons to include that information, individual name, they should be qualified. I tend to recommend to put persons who you would have worked with or would have probably led a project with, worked under, right? Include 2 or 3. Right, this is an example. Mr. Ted Taylor, senior electrical engineer. So this person, once we call him, should be able to speak properly about your work ethics, the quality of work, etc. Right, so just quickly some do's and don'ts, right? Because I am way behind schedule. Quickly, don't include personal information. I said that earlier, such as age, sex, height, weight, marital status, photograph, because unfortunately we live in a society that's, stigmatized age, stigmatized sex, stigmatized height, right? I could recall not here in my other function because I also have experience working on state boards and so on. I recall a time we had a senior position, I think it was a director position, advertised for me going through the resume. The individual were highly qualified. I mean, we felt that we had the right person for the job. They ticked all the boxes. Then for some reason, the person included the age, and age was 62, 63. And that became it shouldn't have been, but it became a concern because of the direction the organization was going. The organization at that point wanted someone who could give at least 10, 15 years to stabilize the organization. And they felt that someone who only had probably 2 years again to retirement couldn't have done that. It could have very well been that the person could have done it in 2 years, but the point is, the panel felt otherwise. So that could have, I personally don't think you should consider someone age when they're doing recruitment, but that is how it is sometimes. Is Dina hand up? Was that before?
No, yes, it's up. I just want to ask, so if you're saying don't include the age, should date of birth also be excluded?
Yeah. No, take out date of birth. Yeah, it's the same as age. Yeah, take it out. Age, sex, height, marital status. And because because of the world we live in, I say that's my personal opinion. Who you married, your ages shouldn't be of a concern or be aligned to your ability to get the job done. But that's how it is out there, right? For instance, if it is some companies want to know that you don't have children so that they could call you 8 o'clock in the night to come out and work. That's how it is. Don't use pronouns I or third persons. That's straightforward. Don't clutter your resume with non-essential information. So similar to what one of the questions asked earlier, try to summarize as much as possible or to cluster it so that you don't repeat information. Don't make any misrepresentation. Right, that is a very serious. Don't list individual courses completed. So I know some individuals, and these are probably for those who are more advanced, when they're listing their academic qualifications, some people tend to include how much A's they get, how much B's and so on. That's not necessary. We just want to see the GPA. We don't need to see how much courses are completed and so on. Some persons like to include as much, even some individuals include their CXC passes. That is not necessary. If it is that you have a degree, obviously you would have done well in CXC, so we just need to see your degree, your diploma. Putting your CXC passes, just take up space where you could have put way more critical information. So if it is you have your CXC passes on your resume, I advise that you take it up, especially if you're already doing a degree or a diploma or a master's. Right? Some person even include the primary school event. That is unnecessary. right? Um, so we now moving on to, hold on. We're now moving on to another section. Why am I looking like right, good. So the other section that deals with the advanced resume techniques, right? So you've completed your resume. You're probably employed or not, you're probably home. You've probably done your resume and sent it out to about 50, 60 different companies. A month pass, 2 months pass, 3 months pass, a year pass, 2 years pass, no call, right? You probably start to think at this stage, something's wrong with me. Probably I wasted my time doing my degree, or probably wasted my time studying. It's not you. It's basically, most times the resume, right? Is Cindy Smith hands up?
So it was before you moved on. I wanted to find out. I had both my CXA and CAPE passes. How do I format it differently? Because I would have written the subject and the grade associated with each subject.
So what you do? What you currently doing? Your degree?
Well, I would have just finished my bachelor's education.
Right, you did the Bachelor of Education. Well, as I said earlier on, you don't necessarily have to include the CXC passes, because to enter into the degree program, you have to have CXC, right? So you won't have reached that far if you don't have CXC. So we believe that it's just taking up space in the resume where you could put other critical information. You probably could include the CAPE, right? Because it shows some level of advancement. But we usually advise you don't necessarily have to include the your CXC process unless you insist you want to put it in. To me, just going to take up space, especially if you're already doing a undergraduate degree. Who said if you're doing a postgraduate degree? Right. But if it is you want to format it, if it's from the same organization, it's similar to what is I explained earlier on, the guy who did the master's, the degree, and the diploma. I'll highlight the organization, the institution that you would have done your degree, your CAPE. You list the subjects. I think CAPE is two different types of scores for year 1 and year 2. What you could possibly do is identify the subjects that you would have done. You don't necessarily have to put these scores, but you want to probably show that you probably did CAPE in these subjects. And the CXC, if it is insistent putting CXC, then you just put CXC subjects. To me, it's just taking up space. I hope I answered you, Sinis. Yeah. Kiba.
Hi, good morning, sir. I just have a question with respect to the layout of the resume. I wanted to know if the format of each heading should follow the exact order that you gave us.
Oh, yes. So, career objective. I'm going to go through it. I was going to go through it after. Career objective, education, experience, skills, other skills, and then you could also have the section where you have awards and hobbies and so on. And then after, you have your reference.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, good. So, as I was indicating before, so you send all these resumes, keep sending all the same jobs, you send it out, but you're not getting any feedback. So you start to think, okay, maybe I'm the problem. You're the problem. You're not the problem, most likely it's the resume, right? So even though your resume is properly constructed, properly structured, You probably did all the tips that I probably did before. For some reason, you're not getting any calls, right? So I'm just going to give you some additional tips for some advanced resume writing techniques, right? So after this, I'm hoping that you could develop strategically targeted resumes that align to specific industries. As I indicated before, it requires you to always mold the resume to suit the organization goals and objectives, core values. That will require you to do some level of investigation and research, right? Because at the end of the day, employers are hiring individuals to help them solve a problem, to help them fill a gap, to help them address an issue that they're currently facing, or to help them advance to the next stage of the organization goals, objectives. And so therefore your resume have to reflect or align to that. If it doesn't, then it would not be selected to go on to the next stage, which is the interview stage. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to create compelling professional summaries, career profiles that effectively communicate your unique position and your career goals, right? I'm hoping that you'll be able to transform your duties into achievement-focused statements. That is very important, by using relevant action verbs, measurable results, and impact-driven language. And this is what employers are looking for now. They're looking for specific words. They're looking to see in your job description how you measured or your results and how you articulated it with particular language, right? So first thing is tip 1. So companies, recruiters want to know that whoever they're hiring, that they're in safe hands. And what do I mean by that? They want to know that they're not hiring a problem. They're not hiring someone to add to their problem. They're hiring someone who can solve their problems, who can address their issues. So your resume must be able to make the employer feel safe. And the way to do that is how you address your job description. In terms of not job description, your experience. So most of this element of my presentation is going to focus on your work experience aspect of your resume, and to some extent the career objective, right? So for instance, our operations manager, you would indicate in as one of the point forms that, okay, I handle various duties over 5 years. Okay, that's good. What duties? Okay, how we handle it? Okay, it's a bit vague. If, however, you're able to say, okay, that you actually brought results by identifying measurable outcomes, then you're speaking the language that the employer wants to hear, right? So you're have to show that. I want to go the shady route, but I heard Elijah, I would stay in the baby mouth. All right. So a better version will be to cut costs by 15% in Q1 by streamlining vendor contracts. So whatever outcome or duties that you have, if it is you're able to measure it and identify the impact and how that impact led to positive results, that is what you have to include in your resume. These are what employers are looking for to distinct you from just having 5 years experience. Because everybody else will have the 5 years experience, but you identified in that 5-year experience how you delivered and achieved and contributed by identifying actual statistics to show it. That is what gives you the edge. And as when I read that, or employer reads that, they feel safe. I want you to cut my cost by 15%. That's what. Let's give this individual a chance. Let's hear what he has to say. Let's hear what she has to say. Right? So that's tip number 1. So the other tip is that, okay, you're able to show that, you're able to identify how you can measure results and cause impact. Employers also want to know, okay, you're able to do that, but I want to know that you're not a risk as well. And so therefore it's important to include information to show up for that you're not a risk to the organization. For instance, there are some instances, person might just put the year that they employed, the year that they, in a particular organization, the year that they left, but they didn't indicate why they left. Could be because they got fired, it could be because they're moving into another career, it could be because they have personal issues that they need to deal with. I don't know, because it's not stated. And so therefore silence is equal risk. If it is, I start to make assumption by reading your resume, that's a dangerous place to be. Right? So the more information that you could put to make me feel comfortable that you're not a risk, the better. So instead of just putting the year, March 2022 to May 2022, it's a short period. That means you only last about that very much. It'll be five months in the organization. You give me context, I'll create my own context. I wonder if he got fired, but I wonder if he's not well. Why he left the job? Put why. Okay? Position was impacted by department or organization. Okay, you're upfront, you're being honest. Your organization went through a shocking exercise and they no longer needed my services. Or you could have best been seeking another opportunity, seeking role with a long-term growth in another organization. Or it could very well be just, okay, I just want to have a personal issue or family matter, indicate that. Personal matters that just health-wise, that is okay to include information upfront instead of leaving it blank. Now, these are instances where you have information without context. So that's step number 2. So there are instances where you are required to put your job description in point format, right? Every bullet needs to translate to your past, translate your past experience into the organization business priority. I'll repeat that. So every point you list on your job experience that you would have done in the past, every bullet need to translate into the company's business priority. So therefore, as I indicated before, you have to go look for the position that was advertised, scan the job description, and identify the verbiage that they used and include that verbiage in your resume. So that when the employer reads that resume, they literally see the same kind of language in that job description. So it starts to line up. Right? So the skill that you have must be able to tell a story. And that story must be in alignment with the organization story as well. So one example, led liquid upsinks meetings to solve escalation between workers. Now that's good. It shows that you are able to solve problems, that you're on top of your game. You're meeting every week to discuss issues and you're resolving problems. Okay, that's good. However, it's not saying the outcome, the impact, right? So a better version would be like resolved high priority operational issues across 4 units, for example, reducing delay time by 25%, improving team delivery score by 12%. So you're now putting value to what it is you're saying, and you could calculate the same actual value, right? So the first one, just showing that you in meetings every week, out in fires. and not showing the results, not showing the progress, not showing the outcomes. While the second one is showing that you were driven by outcome. Yes, they held these meetings, but this was the result. And so an employee reading that would say, okay, good, this person knows what he's about and he's able to show proof, right? But it has to be accurate, as I indicated before. Don't just go making up figures. It has to be something that is realistic and truthful. So the other tip has to do, and it's a very important part, is the words that you use in your resume, especially in the experience part of it. So the verbiage I indicated before, the action verbs, is a very important part. So the first word that we or employer will look at in your list of duties would tell us how senior you are. And that's true. The first word that you list in your resume in terms of your job experience will tell the employer how senior you are. Therefore, it's important that you use the right verbs, the right action verbs, right? Else you would sell yourself short. It could very well be that you're on top of your game and you're very experienced, but because of the wrong words, you sell yourself short. And one example, I worked for a migration project for internal tools, right? Better example, led migration of internal tools, cutting infrastructure costs by 25%. So what you did, what's it's showing here that you led, the word led means that you own the project. You lead the project. It shows that you have leadership skills. It shows that you were literally in control. Right? Well, the first one just say that you worked. Okay, it worked how it could be assistant, it could have been a supportive role, it could very well been have leading the project, but that's not what it's saying. So the words, the action verbs that you use is very important. And here are some examples of some of action verbs that I would advise that you use in your resume. Administered, for those people who have more administrative functions, office clerk, clerks, administrative assistants, these are the kind of words that you want to use. Arranged, it shows that you're able to basically pull things together and put things in a particular order, get things done. Built, designed, developed, implemented. Is a very important word. Implementation, so that you are able to take a task, a responsibility or an assignment, and basically execute it, right? Ordered, performed, planned, served, scheduled. These are just some action verbs that you would want to replace or put as one of the main points on your resume when you're identifying some of these tasks or some of the duties that you would have executed. One of the things I want to advise, remember these words are action verbs, but it's also in past tense. If it is that your resume or the position that you are, you're no longer in the position, then you write in past tense. These are all past tense, right? If you're currently in the position, then you would say administer or develop, plan, serve, right? Schedule, because you're currently doing the job. All right, supervise for that one. So you have all these skills you identify that you're able to execute, you're able to lead, you're able to manage. However, your resume is still not telling story. Why? Because your resume is structured as a timeline. What a lot of people do is that they think their resume should reflect the entire timeline of their academic journey. Yes, it should. However, recruiters usually tend to look at the resume or the experience for the last 5 to 7 years. Why? Because anything beyond that could be seen as somewhat outdated in terms of the procedures, the techniques, the skills that you would have learned could be outdated because we're living in a society where things are advancing quite fast. So if it is your resume showing things that you would have done quite 10 years ago, it's not going to be relevant for today, most likely. So recruiters are going to look basically for your experience for the last 5 to 7 years, right? Your resume is not a timeline, it is a signal. It is a signal to show that you are capable, you are ready. Recruiters don't need to know your life achievements. They don't want to know your life story. They are looking to see if you can solve their problem. So your resume to be able to say that, to show that I, Jesse Mosam here, and I can solve the problem. Right? These are the things that I can do, have done, and can do to support or solve the issue that you're currently facing. Right? So the last thing I want to say regards to is another tip, but is not reflected here, is the whole summary of the entire resume. Right? The whole entire, I think I do have it, as a matter of fact. Right? It is. It's right here. Your resume at all times, these are what recruiters are looking for. If there's anything you can get from me today, take this. These are the 3 main elements that your resume needs to have in order to move on to the next stage. It should be credible, technically credible, so that you're capable, able to do the job. Must have business impact in that your resume must be able to show that you can impact the organization, you can contribute to the organization, you can help develop the organization. It is in alignment with the organization's goals and objectives. It must have impact, and it must show that you're able to lead. Those are the 3 main things companies or recruiters look for. Anyways, everything else is standard. Okay, yes, you have a GPA. Okay, that's good. Yes, you have experience. Okay, that's good. Yes, you have hobbies. Okay, that's good. These are the main 3 things. Technically credible, must have impact on the business. Your resume must have impact on the organization. And you have to be able to show how it can have impact. And you must be able to show how you can lead people, make decisions, make choices. Right? So quickly, the individual would have asked before the structure of the resume. This is just a sample of the quick, simple resume. The address, name, address, objective, education format is there. Work experience, honors and awards, additional information, references. So what I want to do now, quickly, because I only have 15 more minutes with you guys. Quickly, I want you to identify, based on what I shared with you, some of the errors in this resume here.
You have an incorrect email.
Okay, very good.
Included their marriage status.
All right, nice.
Their
Date
religion.
of birth and religion.
Very good.
Spelling errors.
Yes, spelling errors.
And the font is all over the place.
Correct,
Using
yes.
different style of fonts.
Different style of fonts.
Especially colors behind the name.
I'm not seeing that. Colors behind
The
the name.
most percent is out of order.
Extra space on top.
Extra
By
space.
name.
Yes, very good.
The email,
The what?
email statement, secretary
So everything just looks like a blur, like you don't know what you're really looking at.
Correct.
Font size could have been bigger.
Yeah. So the average font size we recommend is 12. We recommend Roman numerals or Arial. There are other fonts that you can use according to your style, right? Most all the answers you guys say they are correct, right? There's also that an individual said something that says the use of the space. There's a lot of space in between objective and education. So your resume, you want to put as much information as indicated on the first or second page, so as much space as possible. Even on the right-hand side of this resume, there's a lot of space. So what I usually advise students is to even include on a separate right-hand column, you could include more data or more information on that page as well. Someone hand is up.
They didn't include the job they're applying for, what position they want to get.
Yeah. But that could also be in your cover letter, which we haven't even reached to yet, but we're going to go quickly. But that's a good point. So the font is off, the colors off, the structure, the format is off, right? Education, you could also see that they have it in the wrong order as well. The objective, very vague, very vague as well. Right, so let's move on. This is the second page of the resume. Quickly identify some errors.
They included the subjects that they did.
Their references aren't properly structured.
Right, correct.
Excuse me, when it comes to references, we have to put the positions and the persons who we getting references from.
Should, yeah.
Especially the contact info of those persons.
And especially the contact information, yes. And email address if you have it as well.
Listed responsibilities, but not the description of skills.
So what about the grades for the subjects?
Improper verbs for the experience.
Very good. Improper verbs. Yeah. So you all, I basically identified most of the errors there. One of the points I want to point out is in most instances in Trinidad and Tobago, especially when you're applying to the public sector, they still require that you print your resumes, right? That is how it is in 2026. So I always advise that individuals, when you're doing the resume, is to number the pages, right? Because there could be, and also to create a header footer on all of the pages of the resume. So that way, this individual, let's see the name for some reason now. Not seeing the name because I'm not seeing the name because I'm being blocked. What's the individual name? Let's see.
Carrie-Ann Critchlow.
Carrie-Ann Critchlow. This is Carrie-Ann Critchlow resume. However, on this page, I don't know whose resume is this. Right? So you try and put a header and footer on all of the pages of a resume. For instance, especially if it's hard copy. For instance, if it is a page for some reason falls out or something gets misplaced, the writer or the reader will know this belongs to Carrie-Ann Critchlow, and this is page 2 of Carrie-Ann Critchlow's resume. Or this is page 3 of Carrie-Ann Critchlow's resume. Right? So now that we would have identified from those and those, you went through some tips and important section is the submission details. And I'm saying this is important because this has been a bit of an annoyance for me. So it's important that when you're creating your file name or your resume, you put your name as the name of the document. we also ask that you include the program as well, right? And I'm saying that in the context, there instances, for instance, where a company reach out to us and they would want a mechanical engineer or electrical engineer and a process technician. So we would have to get the resumes, right? We send you a request for resumes, and we will receive a whole flood of emails with the resumes. But in the subject of the email doesn't identify what you're applying for. You just attach the resume. The resume doesn't have a name, so that requires us to open the resume and find out whose resume is it. We could only assume that Jane Doe submitted this resume because Jane Doe is Jane Doe email. You cannot make that assumption. We have to open that resume now and look for the resume name and then save it. I've done it a few times, but I'm telling you, it's an annoyance, and it's we might do it here, but I'm telling you, all other organizations are not going to do that. If it is you giving the recruiter work to do, you're not going to get through with your resume. So please save the resume, put your name, and if it is you're applying for multiple positions, save the resume under the default position you're applying for. Right, and that's just an example. And for those students who might have to apply for internships or so like that, include your name, the position, the program that you're doing, sorry, and the year body, because most times you'll have to identify what year you're in order to know where to store or send your application. Right? So those are some of the tips, right? I did tip 4, and one of the last tips I want to give you all, one or two. Right? Is an applicant tracking systems. So most organizations now, especially those international organizations, even regional organizations like Caribbean Jobs, Evans, and these other organizations, they use software to assist with scanning and shortlisting resumes. So then, therefore, it is important that your resume is ATS friendly, and ATS means the applicant tracking system for software that they use to basically shortlist and scan resumes. Right? I could tell we use something similar here at UTT. We use AI as well to assist us in terms of shortlisting, especially if it's a lot of resumes. Right? And I could tell you an instance where I know for sure a student when a sub application and know the student is qualified and know the student has the experience, but the AI just did not pull the resume. That is because when I looked into the resume, there wasn't specific words that were left out in the resume that caused the AI not to pull the resume. And therefore, it is important that you use exact keywords to mirror the language of the job title when you're creating your resume, especially when you're sending out resumes to organizations that are large, organizations that more than likely will be using AI software to screen your resumes. Use keywords that would mirror the language of the job description. Right? Stick to standard formatting, use common headings because they're more than likely identify, pull information using the different headings and headlines on your resumes. Right? So stick to standard formatting. In these instances, avoid complex designs. I know some people use different techniques that make the resumes look flashy and nice. That's okay. But when you send in applications to large organizations, tend to keep it simple, clean, clear, and don't use graphics, too much graphics. Don't put tables and columns because that could confuse the software as well. We also advise that you save your document as a PDF, right? So that the software could read it properly and effectively, right? So that's just another tip. so that when you're creating or restructuring your resumes, bear these in mind. And most important tip, trust God. After you send out that resume, pray that it reaches in the right hands of the person who will have the discernment to see what it is you're trying to say. Right? Even to probably have the patience, because sometimes you just need to have some patience and to tolerate some person, because really and truly, in Burma, that requires us to just look a little deeper to see the value of the resume. Right? So, over the next 4 minutes, I'm just going to go briefly about what the cover letter does. Cover letter is another aspect of the application process. It usually goes alongside with your resume. Some people might think a cover letter is just an additional document that employers won't read. That is not true. They read your cover letter because the cover letter basically demonstrates your value, right? It is what makes you a strong candidate, and it shows how your skills or your values can align with our needs or the organization needs, and how you can contribute to the company's success. It is also an opportunity to include information that may not be necessarily captured on the first page of your resume, can be captured and included in your cover letter. I know there are instances when time I sat in shortlist committees, shortlist panels, and because I didn't see the relevant qualifications in the first page of the resume. However, when I looked at the cover letter, I found it. And because I found it in the cover letter, I was able to include that in the video insurance. So don't shortchange yourself with the cover letter. It should be at least 2 to 3 paragraphs long, right? Should not be more than 1 page, just 1 page, please, right? And try to include information about the company, because it will show that you did the research, you understand the company's missions, values, and it really will just show that you really have a genuine interest in your organization, not just applying for a job because you need to make money, need to earn money to pay your bills. It shows that you really are interested in pursuing your career in this organization. Right? Right, so I had, in the last 2 or 3 minutes, I had prepared a quick Kahoot quiz. You all are familiar with Kahoot?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Right. So just gonna in the last 3 or 4 minutes I have with you guys, just gonna quickly do a Kahoot quiz. What I will do, I will just include, right. What I will do, hold on. I will stop sharing, and what I will do, I'll put the Kahoot link in the stop sharing. Right, so I'm going to put the Kahoot's link in the group. Let's go and do this quickly because I don't want to overstay my time. I really hope the information that I shared really have been helpful.
It has been, sir. Thank you very much.
Glad to hear that. So I'm going to put in the link in the chat, right? So you click the link, and then I'm going to put the code as well. Not a hard quiz, just basically. Right, so I could go ahead. This I did. I started the quiz. Hold on.
So you say put in it in the chat?
Yeah, I think I did.
I'm not seeing it. The link.
Not.
The link not in the chat, Jesse.
Okay, alrighty. Okay, I thought I did. Oh, so I was sending a direct message. Sorry about that. Group chat. So that's the code there. I sent it there, and now I'm sending link. You see it, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's there now.
Right, so join quickly. So as while you all join, again, I want to remind you all that because you participated in this seminar, you will also have access to the clinic, resume writing clinic on the 9th of July, and also to attend mock interviews as well for different companies that would be present at our career/job fair at the San Fernando campus. Right. However, it requires you to register. I will also send that registration link to each and every one of you all. And I really hope you do take advantage of the opportunity to engage with potential employers and to really further your career. Come on, guys, so everyone join. 3 or 4 more minutes with you guys. We see the
So
count.
I attempted to join and it states that it's full.
Oh, really?
Same here, sir.
So I'm guessing it has a limit, sir.
The limit has been reached.
Same here, sir.
Well, okay, that sucks.
So are we allowed to unmute and answer if we can? Yeah.
Yeah, we can. I'll probably do it like that. Okay. So I'll have to share my screen then. Okay. So let's do that. I'll just share my screen. Right. So let's go then. True to false. Use action verbs and bullet points.
True.
True.
Okay, cool. What about that?
True.
Use graphics to impress recruiters.
False.
False.
That's
false.
Yes, it's really easy. It's really easy, guys. It's really easy. True or false? Include personal details like age.
False.
False.
Okay. True or false? Resume should only be 1 page only.
False.
False.
Okay. Okay. Right, this one of them want to say about what should your resume summary highlight?
Key achievements.
Key achievements.
Nice. Which file names look professional?
Pindo.
In the resume.pdf.
Jane Doe.
Anything easy. You got it. You got it. Which page length is typical?
Is it hard?
Typical, eh? Typical.
One page.
Yeah, usually 1 page, 2 pages max. Which fonts are you Kuta friendly?
Times New Roman.
New Roman.
New Roman.
What should bullet points start with?
Action verbs.
How many seconds do recruiters take to skim their resume?
One minute, 60 seconds. Either or.
Yep, it's really 7 to 7 seconds. There's according to how much resumes we have.
So I was thinking it was 5 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, but 5 seconds is yeah, there you go, yeah. Thank you guys for participating. Thank you. I hope I had an impact. I really enjoyed spending the last 2 hours with you all. I think I can close my aspect of it and pass it over now to Avalon. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the 9th of July. Hope you guys come out. All the best. Thank you very much. Avalon, over to you.
Nice.
Thank you. Take care.
Hi. Okay. You all could see me?
Live. No, miss. Just help me.
The screen is
I
still
don't.
So it will be at a certain time on the 9th of July, or we will get an email or something, so?
Yeah, I will send an email, but it's between 10 to 2.
Thank you.
Will it be physically, sir?
Yes, a face-to-face is a job fair. It's a career fair. We invited about close to 40 or 50 different companies so that you all could come and engage and probably get employment. Let's see how it goes.
Nice. All right. So thank you all very much for being here with us this morning. I think some of you would have gained information that you now will have to go back and sit down and go through your resumes. As Jesse indicated, for some of you, we will have the writing clinic available on the 9th of July. So do register for our interviews, mock interviews, or speed interviews if any of the companies there is of interest to you. And you can come and get your resumes looked over at Résumé Clinic. We look forward to seeing you at some of our other sessions throughout this week, and I think the last one is next week, Monday. And that's about it. Thank you for being here this morning. I know it is time for lunch. We've been here a while, and I look forward to seeing you all again. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
God bless you, everyone.
Thank you, Miss. Same to you, sir. And thanks for a great session today.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
You did all.